What's up, guys? Welcome back to the SadFCDfans podcast. I'm your host, Matt Dool, and I'm joined by my co-host, Joe Martinez. Joe, how's it going?
Pretty great actually. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. Hope your family is great. I hope you guys got to eat that third plate of food. And it was good news around these parts for FC Dallas, so I'm kind of happy right now.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good week. FC Dallas started the week off right Sunday, late Sunday. Well, I guess Monday morning, technically, by the time it ended up finishing, with a massive road playoff victory, which we'll get into more later. But yeah, that was a great start to the week. And then for me, it was a short work week, only Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then obviously Thursday, Thanksgiving off. And luckily, my company pretty much always gives us the day after Thanksgiving off. And then I took Monday off as just like a PTO day. So almost a week off for me. That's the key. If you can try to sneak in a PTO day before or after the holiday, then it's almost like you get a week off while only having to use one PTO day. But I wish I would have taken a PTO day on Monday because I didn't go to sleep until probably like 2 something because I was just too buzzed and happy after that FC Dallas victory to shut my brain off and just go to sleep. I think I legit like walked around my house for about an hour just looking at my phone, smiling and looking at Twitter and stuff. It's a good night. But since the last time we recorded, which was in mid-October, once again, whoops. FC Dallas FC Dallas continued their roller coaster of a season. In the last episode we spent a lot of time, I believe, talking about the Reggie situation whenever that podcast came out of him talking about FC Dallas making him apologize. And then I guess this was after that whenever Dan Hunt went on TV during the pregame show of the Kansas City game, which was the next game after we recorded, I guess the day after we recorded or posted, and basically said that it wasn't true. Didn't necessarily straight up call Reggie a liar, but you can, when someone says what you're saying isn't true, I don't know. I guess this would be a good point for the Drake and Josh audio of I ain't calling you a truther. But that's basically what Dan Hunt came out and said. But then FC Dallas won against Kansas City 1-0, so that's really all that matters at the end of the day, right? Joe, what were your thoughts on Dan's? I'm trying to remember because it was a while ago. I do remember him. It seemed like he really was like honing in on the written part of the apology. I don't know if you remember that. He kept saying like we didn't give him a written apology. He kept saying written a lot. Like he wouldn't say that they didn't tell him to apologize or anything like that. They just really wanted to focus in on they didn't write an apology for him.
Yeah, it was definitely more of an implied situation more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, like a little nudge, like, "Hey, man, maybe you should apologize."
Use your own words, but you should apologize.
Use your words, but you write it down. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it just kind of felt like a small backtrack and a small way to kind of ease off of some of the blame for that situation. But it's kind of like he got caught cheating or something and had to like babe, I didn't like her tweets. I was just on her profile page for like 4 hours the other day, just scrolling it back.
I didn't mean to like her photo from 7 months ago.
Months ago.
It just happened.
It just happened. Somebody else retweeted it. So it was just kind of one of those things where we all could see the picture that was painted in front of us, but the words are just different from coming out of his mouth. So
it definitely seemed like legal or PR talk to where it's, like cover all bases, but try to still paint yourself in the right light. Yep. Anyway, so FC Dallas wins that game against Kansas City, then go on the road and have an absolute stinker and lose 3-0 to Nashville. Followed that up with that 0-0 tie against Salt Lake, which I remember just being like the most meh I've ever felt after a road result ever, just because FC Dallas came out with no intent to attack at all and seemed very happy to just sit back and wait out a draw against a Salt Lake team that's not very good. So that was pretty disappointing to see. Then they went on a pretty good little run there of beat Nashville 2-1 at home, where they came back from 1-0 down and had that great Bryan to Ryan link up for the winning goal late on in that match, and then beat the shit out of Houston at home 3-0, and as the home finale, because they did have one more regular season game. Oh no, I guess they had two more because they played Nashville on the road after that and beat Nashville on the road. They finally beat Nashville, and they did it on the road. That was the game where we saw the lineup that basically ended up being the same lineup they rolled out in the playoffs of Ryan at left wing and John Nelson at left back, and Ryan had the game-winning goal. So I wouldn't be surprised if Lucci looked at that result and picked his lineup based off of that game. Because the next game, I think they went back to the regular formation with Ryan at left back, and they lost 3-0 at Minnesota in a game that could have clinched a home game for FC Dallas to start the playoffs, which we were all looking forward to. And not only did they lose 3-0 to Minnesota, it was basically like majority Minnesota backups. With Minnesota got hit by COVID pretty good at the end of the season, and then some injuries and all that. And FC Dallas came out and kind of just killed everyone's confidence going into the playoffs after a 3-game win streak before that. I was thinking, oh, things are looking good. You get hot this time of the year and you never know what can happen in the playoffs. And then they go into Minnesota and just lay an egg. And I'd imagine that had a pretty similar effect on you, Joe, right? That you weren't feeling too confident going into the Portland game after that Minnesota result.
Yeah, so after the Nashville game, I was actually riding pretty high. I knew the teams that we had beaten, like Houston and I guess Nashville to an extent, but I was thinking because we hadn't played like maybe one of the bigger teams like Portland or Seattle, but I was thinking, hey, these are good wins. You come into the playoffs, you come in hot, and we even tried something experimental. We put Ryan up top, I like at that left wing position. Then we put John Nelson right behind him. Basically, shared up the back line and just let you have chaos up top. I was like, all right, this is cool, and then we just get shellacked the next game, and
Yeah.
it just it killed everybody's confidence. It for me, I was thinking maybe you can kind of bounce back and at least acknowledge some of the mistakes that you made. But when I saw that game, it didn't look like we made any mistakes. It just looked like a really bad soccer team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's,
So
it's easier to bounce back from like a tough 1-0 loss or something like
sure.
that than
Mhm.
just getting absolutely destroyed 3-0. And FC Dallas had some chances in that game, but really like the 3-0 scoreline was, I'd say, pretty fair considering that Minnesota were just
Oh, they look better. They
they're
look better
ruthless with their
flat out.
chances.
Yeah.
Yeah, they take their chances. But man, we're rolling into playoff time. Obviously that last result against Minnesota, FC Dallas could have moved as high as second place, I believe, in the West if results fell their way on decision day, and they got the win. And I'm trying to remember. I think the results did go pretty well for FC Dallas on decision day, except for their own game.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so they end up falling all the way down to sixth, and which obviously means they were going to have to go on the road to start the playoffs. And they drew Portland. Before that, I mean, the start to the playoffs was awesome. Like the first Friday night of the playoffs is where you had the two Eastern Conference play-in games. So the first game was that New England versus Montreal game where New England scored in literally like the last minute when Gustavo Bo scored that nice goal and put them through to the next round. And then the next game was kind of a stinker whenever poor Miami just got crushed by COVID the week of their playoff game and lost both Higuain's and their captain and really best defender and LGP at the back, and lost 3-0 against Nashville. And Pizarro played, but he's coming off he played like basically 90 minutes for Mexico on a Tuesday and then a Friday night in a different continent. He's got to play a playoff game. So after MLS, of course, changed their COVID protocols to when I think originally they were saying that anyone who played international games was going to be ineligible for those first round of playoff games, but then decided to charter in all the foreign players to make sure that they were eligible, and then laid off 20% of their staff for budget reasons.
Good old Christmas spirit right there.
Yeah, I can't imagine if you're one of the hundreds, I guess. I don't know how many people MLS employs at their New York City office, but if you're one of those people who got fired, to go on social media and see all these players flexing their private jets that they're flying back from international duty while you just got laid off of your job during a pandemic is probably not the best feeling. But hey, I mean, I guess business is business, unfortunately for some people. But
Yeah, gotta save those Garber bucks, right?
yeah, need
Yeah.
those.
Hope
Don't
those people
worry.
can bounce back though. That's frustrating.
Whenever they get their 60th expansion team, maybe they'll hire them back.
With
Uh,
a $400 million buy-in by then, or
yeah,
500, whatever
yeah.
it is.
So the next day we had the I guess it depends who you ask, infamous or in my case I loved all of it. The game between Orlando and New York City. Joe, you didn't get to watch it live, but I was watching it live, and like I said, that shootout was maybe the most chaotic ending to a sporting event I've ever seen. Just in the sense of like, what the hell is going on right now? Like, so I've never seen. I guess I was pretty confused, but I honestly felt like I had a better idea of what the hell is going on than the officiating crew that day, which is probably why they've been told you're not doing any more playoff games this year. That's as close as MLS. That's like the most MLS will do in terms of actually, punishing officials for mess ups. So that was whenever we saw Orlando's goalie get a second yellow during the shootout for coming off his line too early to save what they thought was the winning penalty. So they're celebrating, and the ref says, "No, no, 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 you're off your line." Keeper gets sent off. They sub in their backup goalie. You can't make a sub during a shootout. You can't bring on a player who isn't in the game and during a shootout. So the refs let them like bring the goalie in and then change their mind. And I think they let him back in again and then change their mind again. So then Orlando just has to throw in one of their field players in goal. And he ends up making the winning save. And Orlando go through in the end. Although I got to say, I'm happy for Oscar, of course, but it would be funny to see how everyone would have reacted if Orlando ends up losing that game. I'd imagine that their tune of it should happen would have been a lot different. I think we would have seen a lot of pissed off Orlando fans all over
No,
social media.
that would have been awful if they would have lost. And to even add to the chaos of it, they had called the game prematurely,
Oh yeah,
even
yeah,
with
yeah,
that.
yeah. Because they forgot they were shooting second. They still had to
Yeah,
score.
so they still had to score another penalty just for the penalty shootouts to end. So it was. I know it's going to be memorable and it's going to be infamous, but I hated it. I hated it because as like I used to play goalie, and as I hate the rule of
Yeah,
where if you're like 2 inches off of your line, you have to you know how hard it is to save a penalty in the first
yeah,
place, and I just make it a judgment call. Obviously, if they take two giant steps off their line before the PK, make them retake it. But to like have half a step off of it, retake, give a yellow card and then a red card in the playoffs is not, it's not entertaining. That's just plain stupid. It pissed me off watching the highlights. I it made me even more mad because that's a red card. That means that guy's not going to be able to play the next game,
yeah.
which
And
is
they
just kind of
tried to
bullshit.
appeal it, and the league held it up because I mean technically they followed the rules correctly,
Of course, yeah, but
but the
it's a
rule
bad
is a
rule.
little silly. Yeah,
It's a silly rule.
I agree with you that goalies, it shouldn't be something that's like reviewable because it should only be called if it's like so
Blatant.
blatant. Yeah,
Yeah.
that like a dude's almost at the edge of his 6 yard box by the time the guy shoots it.
Yeah.
Like if it's something you have to slow down and look at, and there's still like jury's still out on whether they even made the right call on some of them because I've seen some angles since then where it almost looks like his heel might have been on the line. But yeah, it shouldn't be reviewable. It's like you said, it's hard enough. Goalies or the kick taker has every advantage in a shootout. You should score a penalty. Goalies are just guessing for the most part, or making
Yeah, for the
very
most part.
educated guesses. Unless you're Tim Melia, then it seems like you're just in everyone's head, and then
Yeah,
you save all three.
you're just a cheat code at that point. Yeah.
How do you get shut out in a shootout? I guess we can talk about that game next. That game was incredible. Also, that might have been the best one of the playoffs so far. Where
San
Kansas,
Jose and
yeah,
Kansas City.
Kansas City's coming in as the 1 seed, and San Jose's the 8 seed, and the legend of Chris Wondolowski gets another chapter as he scores a goal because Kansas City scores in stoppage time in like the 91st minute or something like that, and it looks like okay, they've won it. They did it, and then in like the 97th minute, when there was only 4 minutes of stoppage time, but they spent like 2 minutes celebrating and then made some subs, so they really can't complain about
No.
the referee should have stopped it. No, that's what happens when you score a goal and make subs in stoppage time. You're supposed to get all that time back. And so Wondolowski scores in like the 97th minute or something. They go to extra time, and I feel like I've noticed this throughout the playoffs because we haven't had any games that have gone to extra time that haven't gone to penalties yet. I don't think that teams just seem a little scared in extra time to make a mistake, and they're. I'm sure San Jose was happy to ride it out to penalties as the road team, just like FC Dallas probably was too. But if they would have known that they should have known that Tim Melia was in goal and that he's the penalty god. That maybe they should have pushed a little harder to try to end that one in extra time. And then really there after that, it was just Minnesota very easily beat Colorado 3-0, and Minnesota's looking good. I guess they've probably got to be one of the favorites in the West now, but behind Seattle, I would say, are probably the consensus favorite now to not only win the West, but probably win MLS Cup, with teams like Toronto being eliminated after they lost to Nashville, and then the Supporter Shield winner Philadelphia looked terrible and got pretty easily beat by New England. So Seattle is really probably the strongest team left. I'm trying to see who else could maybe be. I don't know, man. I wouldn't be surprised if New England somehow ended up in MLS Cup, just because you never doubt Bruce Arena.
Yeah, but I can see Papi, no, really CONCACAFing it up next game.
Yeah, they're going to be without two players for this
Yeah.
next game because I forgot to mention in that Orlando game they had their right back took a stupid red card where he just
Ruan.
yeah, he should have
Yeah.
had a red card before, to where there was one where Tennerholm was going for a header and Ruan is literally like not even looking. Tennerholm's looking up in the air, getting ready to head the ball, and Ruan is literally just got his eyes straight on him and runs into him like full speed. Like it's legit. It was legit a penalty in the NFL. Like that's a targeting penalty in the NFL, and he almost just knocks Tennerholm unconscious, and he didn't get a card for that. And then like 2 minutes later, he kicks a dude in the nuts, like right there. Just the dude standing over him, and he did one of those little kickouts, And
Yeah, I thought he was point shaving at that point because
yeah, like what is this dude doing? How can you be this uncontrolled in a playoff game?
and he's so talented, which is the crazy part is like, why are you? This doesn't seem necessary, is what it was. But the red card was necessary at that point. So
it was clear as hell.
so they're gonna be down two players, but I don't know. I still feel like they can beat the Revs.
Yeah, they're gonna be at home too in Orlando. You saw that their fans were pretty pumped for their game. As their first playoff game and all the time they've been at MLS, and to have it at home. And they always have good support. And yeah, that place will be rocking, I'm sure, for their next game. Which let me see, what day is that game? I got the thing. Oh, it's the first game on a Sunday at 2. That'll be a good one. And then Sunday at 7, you get Columbus, who literally right before we started recording, news came out that they had 4 players test positive. So I guess we'll see which players that were the ones who tested positive, who's going to be available for them. And shit, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Nashville ends up finding themselves in the Eastern Conference Championship in their first ever year, when no one was talking about them. It was all about Miami.
Well, once we saw that they could beat Dallas, we knew they were MLS Cup favorites at that point.
Yeah, anyone who beats FC Dallas is the best team,
basically. But also with Columbus it's only 4 cases right now. We don't know how many cases it's going to be total.
Yeah.
So that's the scary part. And I mean, it's just unfortunate because Columbus, top to bottom, talent wise, is probably the most, or at least one of the top five
Yeah, I would
most
say
stacked
they would
teams in the
be
league.
probably the favorite from the East,
Yeah,
when healthy for sure, with who's left. Because Orlando's good, yeah, but I guess Orlando might be the favorite now if Columbus, depending on who's out for Columbus. But like you said, we've seen multiple times in MLS this year how quickly those that number can just spread from four to all of a sudden you get 10 guys out.
yeah,
And the league has said that teams will be forced to forfeit if they can't field a team due to COVID, that the other team will be gifted a forfeit victory. MLS said we're not going to reschedule playoff games, for COVID cases. We're already kind of far going further in the year than we would like, and I guess they don't want to have to push back the start of next season and stuff like that. And
yeah. That's
yeah,
that's tough.
it's a tough spot to. I'm sure the last thing the league wants to do is force a team to forfeit in the playoffs, But hopefully, I think that report said that it was in the last week or so they had 4 cases, and they probably send everyone home immediately after finding out. So hopefully, the 4 that did test positive are kept away and quarantined from the rest of the team, and hopefully, they'll be able to play. And so I guess we can get right into FC Dallas versus Portland on a Sunday night. Man, that was really the day kind of started with a bit of surprise when a little birdie told me that Fafo was going to start instead of Barrios, and that was probably surprising to a lot of people just because Michael Barrios has been a starter on this team for pretty much as
The
long as he's
last
been on the team.
4 years, 3 years.
Yeah, like a almost like a penciled in starter, like he's going to be the first choice unless like it's a rotation rest or something like that. But honestly, I wasn't surprised by it because Fafa has outplayed Mikey for the most of the season, especially at the end of the season. We saw Fafa score twice against Houston in the last home game, and Barrios is just he's still always dangerous. He's a game changer when he's on. That pace is something that not many guys in the league, or really probably in the world, can offer you in terms of just a change of pace. And you know what he's going to give you. So whenever they threw him on late, you knew that he was just going to go at defenders, try to get to the end line, get balls into the box. This year, his assist numbers are down a little bit. And obviously, he's never been a great finisher, but man, he's had some really bad missed chances this year. And Fafa is just a better finisher, and I think they like what Fafa gives them defensively. And Fafa works his ass off every game, and that's been my favorite thing about him all season is that dude just runs his ass into the ground every game, and as long as he's on the field. And so yeah, Fafa got the start, and then like we talked about earlier, they rolled out Ryan at left wing and Nelson at left back. Ziegler still on the bench. Seems like he's kind of fallen out with Lucci in terms of his starting position. And what were your thoughts when you saw that lineup? Were you surprised at all, or were you did that make sense to you? Like you thought they would roll that way?
I was a little surprised. I was just thinking going if we were gonna go into this game, we are probably just gonna go back to our basics, which was basically Fafa left, Barrios
Mike,
right, Hara,
yeah,
and then I
Ryan at
guess
left back.
I guess pick Ryan at left back, but I guess put Ferreira in there as your third center mid slash cam,
Mm-hmm.
and then the rest would be the same. But when we switched it up, I was like, well, I'm actually I kind of want to see this. I was thinking at that point, you shore up your defense. You bunker down a little bit, and then you hope that you can get a goal, and that's kind of what we did for the, I'd say, first 70 minutes.
They
So
did score. They did score early on. It was disallowed because Hara was offside, but the plan
yeah,
worked for about 80 minutes.
yeah. So, but in terms of the starting lineup, I really didn't have any issue with it. I was kind of hoping we would get Tessman in the starting lineup, but
Yeah,
I understood why we went with the starting lineup that we did. You want to get into the game?
yeah. One more thing on the lineup thing is Lucci has kind of said over the last several weeks, I guess months too, that he likes Ferreira as that cam, that 10, if you want to call it, just because he likes having him making runs into the box and almost playing as like a second striker when the ball is wide. It's because for a while, I remember we all complained about how there would just be no one in the box for FC Dallas. It would be Hara against like three defenders and no one else there. So he liked having that extra body in the box to, free up Hara a little bit. And I was going to hit on one more thing on the lineup. I'm trying to remember what it was. Um, oh, well, anyway. So yeah, going into the game, I remember now. I had tweeted about this today, the game. I was saying that I thought that game was going to be like a huge moment in Lucci's coaching career, just to see what his mentality and mindset was going into that game against a team like Portland, they're more than happy to, give up possession, like the possession battle, and because they're just lethal on the counter, and especially when they lost Blanco for the year, when he tore his ACL. They've got just players that are really good for killing you on the counter, and they're really lethal, and they still got Diego Valeri pulling the strings at, I think he's like 34, 35. He's still really damn good. And so I was curious to see if Lucci was going to come out and try to just take the game to Portland, or try to hit him on the counters and play conservative. In the end, if you just based off the lineup, you would say, yeah, he was going conservative. And like even start of the game, FC Dallas looked really shaky for the first 20 minutes or so, like barely complete a pass, nervous. And then they slowly settled in. They got that disallowed goal. And I saw a lot of people, even the announcers, I think, were comparing it to last year when FC Dallas played against Seattle. And they're like, oh, where's that side, when they came out and tried to bring the game to them. FC Dallas was down 2-0 after like 30 minutes in that game, like maybe they didn't want to do that. They don't want to go down 2-0. They want to keep the game close and not be digging out of a hole to start the game. Sure, like I guess you like the confidence to come out and try to take the game to the other team, but if it's, resulting in you being down 2-0 after 30 minutes, maybe you'd rather keep the game close and, take your chances that way. But yeah, it was the first half. Did you what were your thoughts on that first half? Do you agree that they looked terrible to start and then kind of settled in towards the end?
Yeah, so they well, first I want to go back to the comparison. The comparison was pretty interesting, but our team was completely different last year, and the
Mm-hmm.
situation was completely different last year. It was against the Seattle team that's a very open team that pulls their wingers up, tries to overload the box, attacks, but they usually have a little bit of space in behind. And the goals that we were able to get back against them, some of them were set pieces. So it was one of those things where like that just kind of sparked the game. It was a totally different situation. If we would be down 2-0 against Portland, we would never score again. They would
Yeah.
put 10
Yeah, they
behind
would
the ball
bunker.
and the game would be over, but before halftime. So I understood having to want to bunker down in a sense for the most part of the game. But what the keys that I saw in the first half were Diego Chara, Williamson, and Valeri did an amazing job of shutting out Riquarte
Yeah.
and just being able to not allow Ferreira to turn. So every time he would get the ball, it would just be pass it back to your midfield or look
Mm-hmm.
up and his channels were just clogged. So essentially at that point, instead of looking like a team that was going to kind of bunker and counter every once in a while, maybe hold possession, we weren't able to hold possession at all. And we looked bad. We looked like
Yeah.
the worst team for about, I'd say 30, 35 minutes until we finally were able to break the lines down a little bit. And
I think a big part of that was I guess that was later, but Williamson had to come off injured like right before the end of the half, and I wonder how much that kind of impacted the game for they had to bring in Paredes instead. I wonder how much that kind of messed with their game plan because like you said, they were killing FC Dallas where FC Dallas couldn't get anything going before that.
yeah, well, Williamson was actually really good because in terms of their shape, they play a 4-2-3-1, and whenever they would push up, Chara would kind of just sit back deep, and that
Yeah.
allowed Williamson to turn into basically a winger or a cam in some some instances. So they were just getting more people into the box in the first half, and they were really close in a couple of their chances, or at
Yeah,
least had a couple opportunities that looked pretty good. But once he went down, that kind of changed their shape a little bit because Paredes just wasn't as neither as mobile and not as creative as he was, or at least not
he's a
as
little bit he's
aggressive.
a little bit more of like a destroyer kind of
Yeah,
type, to where he just wants to get stuck in and stuff like that.
yeah,
And
not as aggressive in the attack as Williamson
yeah,
was. But what I think was the big change for FC Dallas was moving Ryan Hollingshead basically into a cam role.
yeah,
So he went from left winger to a false nine essentially, and we stuck Ferreira as like the extra center mid. So we kind of weren't playing with the left winger for a while. It was really weird, but that actually helped us break into these channels a lot better. And Fafa was just moving side to side, just
yeah.
sprinting.
The disallowed goal came with Ryan getting the ball, like you said, in like that 10 spot,
Hmm.
getting the ball turning and then playing a through ball through to Hara.
Yeah,
And
it just shook everything up.
not many left backs are comfortable playing in that 10 spot and making plays like that. I mean, FC Dallas does switch around. Usually they're wingers a lot, but in Portland game, it seemed like they were switching really that front, I guess, three of the front four, like
Hmm.
where Ferreira would pop up on this wing while Fafa's over here, or maybe Fafa's in the middle and Ryan's on that side. They're switching it around and just throwing some different looks at Portland, which seems like FC Dallas has always liked to, even back to the Oscar days, of just throwing different looks at the fullbacks of whatever team they're playing against. And yeah, Ryan was in that 10 spot a couple times. I want to give a shout out to Franco Haro. I know didn't get a goal or anything the other night, but he was working his ass off all game, to where he was
Hmm.
pressing all over the place and winning some tackles and cutting off a lot of passing lanes and all that, and a lot of stuff that won't show up on the score sheet or anything, but a lot
Yeah.
of just good work for the team. And Fafa, like we said, always gives you that every game. There were a couple times where he got the ball and would get forward, but he just had no one with him, because he's so fast and everyone else is sitting all deep to play defense. And then Fafa gets up there and all he has is Hara against four defenders in the box. But yeah, once they got in the second half, let me pull up the thing. I want to see exactly what I don't remember exactly what the first change FC Dallas made was, but let's see. I've got the thing open right now. Timeline. Did
Well,
they make
one
a
of the
sub at halftime? I don't remember.
um,
I don't think so. I've got it
but
right here.
one of the thoughts that I had about the first half was just which kind of saddened me a little bit was Ricarte may not be that DP that we wanted him to be. Um,
Yeah, he's
not that he was bad or that I like had this grand expectations, but when it comes to the playoffs and it comes into these big games, those are the type of players that you need to see at least just a little, just elevate a little bit more. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like I don't expect him to become prime, Xabi Alonso at center defenseman, but like he was rough. He was rough. Like he was not comfortable. He was not able to have simple passes. He was trying to break lines and just giving the ball away. He actually looked like one of our worser players on the pitch, and that was because obviously the press and everything. But if you're paying for a DP, you kind of want them to elevate, and he didn't elevate to the level that I wanted him to.
yeah, he definitely struggled against Portland. I wonder if maybe some of that was the conditions. Playing in 40-degree raining on turf. He's probably not too used to that, playing in
That's
Colombia.
that too. Yeah.
um, but yeah, I do think that maybe we all got a little too hyped about him from the start, and maybe we're expecting him to be that every single game, from like what he was against Houston, where he scored the banger. And he did, I guess. It seems like he really likes playing against Houston, because he was incredible in the home game against Houston, where he had a couple of assists. But yeah, so the first sub FC Dallas made was in the 60th minute. They brought on Tessman for Ferreira, which was a move I think a lot of us saw coming, which may be a move that a lot of us wanted from the start, myself included. I'm a big Tanner Tessman guy, just from the sense that the team just looks better when he's out there. And so that kind of let Ricarte move a little further up and not have so much defensive
Defensive duties, yeah.
responsibility. Yeah. And let's see.
And
Still
Ricarte
scoring.
does look a lot better when it's more of a three midfield, not like a
Mm-hmm.
two midfield, and you have a Cam that may not be as
Placing striker almost.
placing
Yeah.
striker so much. Yeah. So he looked a lot more comfortable whenever Tessman came in, which was good. But I think the team is just a lot better when Tessman is in the game.
Yeah, I think 100% that the best midfield for FC Dallas is Santos, Tessman, and Ricarte.
Hmm.
But the thing is, like I was talking about, like what Lucci likes is having another body in the box, and Ricarte is, he's not going to be in the box. He wants to be the guy making the pass into the box. So that's why they like Ferreira up there, and they also like Ricarte playing a little deeper just so he can get on the ball more and kind of link things up. But I think Tessman can do just as much. We've seen how good Tessman is at those 50-yard diagonals and stuff like that, where he seems to play so consistently, to where he can spread the game as good as anyone on the team. And then he's a big body in the middle to doesn't lose many aerial duels or anything like that. And like I said, I like Ricarte to be a little further up the field and not have to worry so much about defensive responsibilities. I want him to be the one who gets the ball when we're starting a counter and looking for that final pass, and not necessarily a guy who's usually a left back being that one. So then FC Dallas, let's see, 75th minute, things are starting to slowly tilt back in the way. They brought on Emma Tumasi for Andres Ricarte, which was a surprise to a lot of people, because I think a lot of people don't know much about Tumasi at all, because he's spent most of his time with FC Dallas out on loan in the USL Championship. He was with Austin, I believe, this year. And but it seemed like Lucci very quickly kind of brought him into the team as a key player, to where he was coming off the bench in the last couple of games. Seemed like every single game he was coming off before or coming on. Seems like Dante Sealy kind of lost his spot in the first team out, which sucks for from a potential perspective, but he'll have his time. He's still 17.
Yeah, he's
Big
still young.
games
He'll
like
be fine.
this.
Yeah.
And then Tumasi came on and he was kind of playing in that 10 spot, and I think a lot of people were maybe surprised to see him there, but I thought he came on and was actually really solid, to where he looked really comfortable on the ball and didn't look like the moment was too big for him or anything. Portland did score a couple minutes after that sub, but I don't think it really had anything to do with it. Portland scored a really nice goal with Villafana ended up getting the goal, and he's a guy who, I forgot what they said on the broadcast, he hadn't scored in years, because he's a left back.
5 years, actually.
5 years, yeah. It was a really, really well worked goal. Valeri played a great little through ball to him, and he just roofed it from a pretty close angle, and it was a tough one to concede. And I don't know about you, but when that goal went in, I had pretty much like almost accepted defeat at that point. I was like, all right, we're done.
Yeah, so I mean, at that point, so the game had been going on. It kind of looked like a stalemate for about 70 minutes. FC Dallas had just kind of were content with not having the ball and kind of getting whatever they could whenever they can.
Yeah, they never created anything really
besides maybe the first chance in the first half.
Yeah.
And so what I think everybody was waiting for was when was that spark going to come in? When was that extra sub? When was Barrios going to come in? Maybe a Pepe, maybe a Tuamasi at wing or something that was going to spark this game into the second gear, so that maybe we could steal it in the last 15 minutes or 20 minutes or so. Well, that never came. And in the 81st, 82nd minute?
81st minute, yeah.
They were able to overload our left side and just pull Reynolds and Hedges out of position, or just slightly out of position, and just play a perfect 1-2. And Villafana did what he had to do and just smashed it right past Mar.
Who had a great game. Jimmy had kept him in it for, he had made a couple of huge saves.
Yeah, because Jimmy's a fucking baller, man. Jimmy's a beast and is one of the best keepers in MLS, but just because he's Jimmy and because it's Dallas, he just did not get the recognition he deserved this season.
Hold on, I've got some audio for your Jimmy Maurer point.
Let's go! Yes! Good shit, Jim! Let's fucking go, boys!
Every time I hear Jimmy Maurer now, I just think, good shit, Jim. From Paxton yelling at his TV.
Oh,
we need a shirt of Jimmy, good shit, Jim.
Good shit,
Maurer.
Jim.
Or it's just good shit Jim with some gloves on it.
Hell yeah, man. Goalkeepers matter, and he just he kills it every game. He does what he had to do. Just because he doesn't fly like he's De Gea or something, the saves are there. The ball doesn't go in the back of the net, and that's all that matters. And he had a great game and almost got to that goal, but it was just a great strike that just
it was just so close. So really all he could do is just stand there, and there's no one can react to that when it's that place that high.
Yeah. And so essentially after that, it was the 82nd minute and we had been dead the whole time. And I felt like just kind of closing the screen and just not watching the rest of the game. But I kept watching and I was like, all right, thanks, Lucha. You're finally bringing, like, I was kind of mad. I was like, you're finally bringing on Barrios. You're finally bringing on Pepe.
85th minute. Yeah, Pepe on for Nelson, and then Barrios came on for Santos. So they're really just going for it at this point.
So at that point, we were just throwing whatever we could at the wall. But 90 what? Third minute?
90. It just shows us, let's see, 90 plus.
I think it's a 90.
90 plus 2.
Yeah, 92nd minute. Goal kick.
Pepe.
Portland kicks it out, I believe, right?
Yeah, Portland had the goal kick. That's why it was crazy. They just completely fell asleep there. I think it was, let's see, who won the header? I think it was Bryan Reynolds wins the header. I've got the clip rolling right now. Yeah, Bryan Reynolds wins a header, knocks it straight down. Matt Hedges just kind of throws his foot at it and kicks it forward.
Just launches it up.
Pepe's in completely behind. Portland's defensive line is at like the edge of the center circle.
Like their 40-yard line, like just past the half field.
Yeah, I don't know. And they're all ball watching and no one notices Pepe running in right behind. And then Pepe's shot is well saved by Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Clark tips it off the bar. Pepe just kept following it up and taps in a rebound. And just I don't know what the hell Portland's doing there. Like you have one job,
asleep, man. It was awesome. Yeah. They fell asleep, and you want your back lines kind of squished together when you have a goal kick. But if you look at it, there are 3 people on the left side. Mabiala, who is one of the better defenders on their team, probably. I mean, I guess is their best center back, and is a beast in the air. Was actually pushed like 3 or 4 yards ahead of everybody for no reason. So once the ball got past him, there was just a giant hole.
Yeah, their line is a mess.
And I was just like,
clip.
And you're watching, you're just like, how is this? Hold on, is he gonna score? Is he offsides? Like in my head, I'm like, is he offsides? Like, how did this even happen? But he put it in the back of the net, and I was like, it was just crazy. It was crazy. I was like, how does this even happen? How did we tie this up? I was actually laughing. I was like, this isn't real. This isn't even supposed to happen.
Yeah, I said out loud. Awesome. I said that's so fucking lucky, but I'll take it.
Oh hell yeah! I was like, I'd laughed because I was like,
I was laughing too.
I was like, what the fuck? And the fact that like it was like the ball bounces off of his foot upward.
Yeah, he took a terrible second touch.
The second touch bounces off of his foot forward. If it bounces anywhere else, the play is lost. He's able to hit it, and it got saved off the post. Gets the rebound. Like it was the most FIFA shit ever. But we'll take it, and that takes us into extra time, man.
It really looked like he had screwed it up. That one touch got out pretty far in front of him, but he still managed to. That's why the original shot, he kind of just had to poke his foot at it, and keeper made a save off the post, and he puts it in. And like I said, before that, I was fully in like the just waiting out the end of the match. I had already had my angry tweets ready. Talking about the difference between a team that's built for development and a team that's built to compete. And I mean, I still think that's true for the most part. So then we go to extra time, and Portland just like seemed like they had no interest in winning the game after that goal. Like they just FC Dallas dominated in extra time. Besides that one chance that Valeri had, literally like the last kick where he kind of mishit a cross and it almost just floated right into the top corner. So where Jimmy literally had no clue on it. He's running, looking over his shoulder, and the ball just bounces right into like the top corner off the post. And luckily no one from Portland followed it up. But really that was the only chance Portland created. Dallas really were on the front foot, and looked like Portland were happy to go to penalties. And sure enough, we did get to penalties, and man, both teams are just put on a penalty taking clinic that San Jose should have been watching, because it was final score of the shootout ends up being 8-7, and really all of the shots were well taken, to where they're all in the corner. Keepers were diving the right way, and plenty of them just couldn't get to it. Saw Hara. They did sub in Reto. I forgot to mention late in extra time because Fafa went down hurt. I haven't heard anything about that, so I'm assuming he's all right. He looked like he was all right post game, celebrating and jumping around and stuff. So I guess his hamstring's all right. But I think a lot of people were maybe expecting FC Dallas to sub on Reto if it got to the point to where we were looking like penalties were likely, because he's been so good at penalties for us over the years, and having an extra guy that you can 100% count on in the shootout makes a big difference. So they threw him on. He shoots first, obviously puts his away, and then Franco gets to shoot second. And then really, I think we all knew those two were going to take penalties. And then after that, we're like, shit, who knows? Freaking Brisson steps up third. And I literally said, oh, God, no, whatever. I saw him stepping up third. He comes up, does the Pogba run up where he takes a bunch of little steps and just side foots it right into the back of the net and let out that cool the gif that everyone was posting of him just screaming. He was fired up, and you could just see all his breath because of how cold it was when he's fired up. I don't even remember who went after. I think Brian, maybe. No, Brian was later on. I think
Hedges, wasn't it?
Yeah. Hold on, let me see. It shows the penalty takers here. Brisson, and then Pepe. That's right. Pepe. I guess Pepe was another one we could have expected to shoot, just since he, take a lot of penalties for North Texas, and obviously he was probably feeling pretty good after the goal in extra time, or in stoppage time. He scores. Then Ryan Hollingshead, the legend, steps up fifth and scores. Then Matt Hedges shot sixth and probably had the best penalty of the shootout. He just tucked it right in the top corner. And Tessman stepped up and smacked one in the bottom corner. And then Tumasi ends up scoring the last, I guess the winning one, really. Tumasi scores his penalty where he just went straight down the middle. And then Jimmy Maurer pulls off a save against the guy Villafania, who had scored in the 82nd minute or 81st, I don't remember, of what surely he was probably thinking, I just scored the game winner in a playoff game. And if there's any better example of how the sport can just be a cruel bitch, is to go from that feeling to then you kind of lose your team the game because your penalty gets saved. How quickly emotions can just completely turn for you in sports, and especially in soccer. Oh, yeah. Jimmy makes a great save. It was a good penalty too. He hit it hard into the corner. Jimmy said, I think I heard in an interview, he said that the way everyone was hitting penalties, he knew he was just gonna have to just full on go all out for a corner, like to the corner on one of them, and because guys were hitting the corners on every one, so he's like, I just got to go all out for this one. And he had a couple, I think, where he got his hand on barely, and you could tell he's pissed. And he made the save. I'm not gonna lie, my celebrations were pretty delayed because I was just waiting for the referee to call it back for him being off his line or something. But then it became clear that FC Dallas had won it. They'd stole one against Portland, and I just walked around my house screaming because both of my babies were asleep, and just paced back and forth, just mouthing, let's fucking go, over and over again for a good 10 minutes. And then ESPN immediately cut off coverage and sent it straight to Sports Center because they're like, all right, that's enough of this shit.
Yeah, Van Pelt came on and gave us his nightly show, whatever it is.
Yeah, and there was no mention of MLS. And Jesus, man, the freaking broadcast were just showing how bored they were during the game. It's like, I get that, like, it wasn't the most entertaining game, but think of people who are maybe not fans of either of these teams that are tuning in and watching this game just out of like curiosity, like, oh, I'll watch this, soccer game. They're maybe not the biggest soccer fans, but they're like, it's midnight or 1 a.m. on the East Coast. There's nothing else on TV right now. I'll watch this. And the guys are talking about, so what'd you eat for dinner? Like sarcastically, like mentioning how boring this game is. It's like, it doesn't do anything to make your product look better, to make people want to watch. you know?
They used that same joke, I think, like 3 or 4 times. I was
Yeah,
like,
like
wait,
throughout extra time.
yeah,
Extra time was pretty boring because, like I said, teams both looked kind of nervous to like, we don't want to screw up here and
but
cost ourselves again.
so just kind of go back a little bit. FC Dallas looked actually really good in extra time though for I'd say the first 10-ish minutes until Fafa got her, and then at that point it was just kind of
Yeah,
like hold on
bunker
until
down. Yeah,
hold
get
on
the
until
penalties.
penalties. You know, I just want to say shout out to Hedges for improving in
Assist.
literally every single facet of his game other than I guess speed over his career, and so now he's one of the best passers in the league, got an assist, and one of the best penalty takers in the league. I didn't know this.
I say you put him on all the penalties from now on,
I'm
and you
saying that was
let
that
him
was a
wear the
fantastic
armband every game too.
hell yeah,
He's
that was
earned his
brilliant.
captain spot, and that was a Matt Hedges assist on the Pepe goal. I mean, I don't know how much he knew about it. Honestly, it looked a little bit like he was just swinging his foot at it to kick it upfield. But
Yeah,
hey,
he flicked it up. Yeah,
you got to
and,
do it.
and Pepe, and shout out to Pepe because penalties. I mean, they're even though I said that it's hard to block them, it's still hard to take them. And to come up there and with nerves of steel and just smash it bottom corner perfectly as a 17-year-old
Yeah,
is in the playoffs that's really impressive. And
it's all mental.
yeah, it's all
Penalties.
mental, and just you still have to put it to the ball where it needs to go. And so
Yeah,
that was fantastic. And Mara comes up big, and you know, and then so that was the game, obviously, and we were hyped. And I slapped my table and I yelled for about 5 minutes. Then, yeah, I kind of had to quiet down because everybody was asleep. So that was it. And the question of can you do it on a cold Sunday, rainy night in Portland just got answered.
FC Dallas can do it on a cold, rainy night in the Pacific Northwest,
For that.
but of course, is anyone surprised that whenever we saw the playoff bracket come out, we said, oh my God, of course we get Portland in the first round. And even if we do pull off a victory, then we got to play most likely Seattle in the next round. I did say that I think LAFC could have beat them if they were at full strength, but they lost. They had 4 guys going international duty, and all 4 of them got COVID for LAFC.
Yeah, that was rough.
So they're missing Rossi and Rodriguez, and I forgot who else. Oh, their left back plays for Ecuador.
Most of your strike force was gone, which is
So they literally it's basically just the fighting Carlos Velas at that point with like Atuesta and Mark Anthony Kay, and they lost 3-1 to Seattle, and so that sets up another FC Dallas versus Seattle playoff game in Seattle. Obviously, FC Dallas had the chance to play at home if LAFC could have pulled off an upset. Wasn't meant to be. I wasn't too confident going into that one just because of LAFC's issues. But Seattle again, here we are.
Hey, but I'm excited. Fuck that. Dude, we just won this game. We stole this game. We have momentum. We can do it against Seattle. They're good.
Yeah,
still we can do it. I think so.
The pressure is obviously all on Seattle. No one is expecting FC Dallas to win this game.
Similar to money at this point.
Exactly. Yeah. No one is really expecting them to beat Portland either. But at this point, it's even way more in Seattle's favor in terms of, honestly, going into the Portland game, I had a really good feeling seeing all the other games around MLS that were all going to extra time and penalties. I was really I kept saying out loud to my dad, I was like, this FC Dallas is going to go to extra time or penalties. I just know it. That game's going to drag out. It's going to be 2 teams who kind of wait each other out. And I did tweet before the FC Dallas game started. I said, fuck it, FCD and penalties. I wasn't feeling too confident leading up to it. And then I just got kind of a wave of confidence before the game to where I don't know, I guess I was feeling a little good. And I said, you know what? FC Dallas is going to steal this one. And they did steal it. And now they're in a position to where maybe the underdog role suits them. I know that we all get super annoyed whenever teams wear out the whole, oh, no one believes in us thing. Minnesota was really trying to drive that earlier in the year. It's no, it's not that people don't believe in you. It's just that you're Minnesota and no one cares because you're not LA or Seattle,
Yeah.
You're a good team. Everyone knows you're a good team.
Yeah, we've given you props the entire season.
Yeah, you have one of the best coaches in the league. FC Dallas is a team that has been, at many points this year, the laughing stock for mainly off-field reasons, and then also have a coach in his second year of coaching men, and going on the road against Savarese, who I would say is one of the better coaches in MLS, and obviously has shown that he's very good in like that tournament format. They won MLS's back. He won NASL with Jimmy Maurer, of course. That was a cool part of that story, that Jimmy saves the penalty to knock out the coach that he used to play for in the NASL. And that's why I had Portland going to MLS Cup, just because I've seen how good they are in that, like, in those knockout games over the years. Diego Valeri always seems to step up in big games. And somehow FC Dallas stole one. And like you said, at this point, it's literally, you could not be more playing with house money, you know? No one's really expecting much. And I would say there's a good chance that, I mean, obviously, as long as they don't go in there and get beat like 6-0 or something like that. Like if they go in there and lose 2-1 or 1-0, something like that, I don't think most FC Dallas fans would be, I guess most rational FC Dallas fans would be too pissed, you know?
Yeah, we're not talking about Facebook FC Dallas fans, for the most part, but if in terms of, not getting any respect or being the complete underdog, just most of these teams, the commentators know how to commentate their name correctly. So,
Yeah,
we
Franco
have
Hurrah,
Ricardo Pepe and Franco O'Hara and
Barrios,
and Mer.
Mar, I don't even know how they were saying.
I don't know, but so yeah, I would hope that if because Taylor Twellman and John Strong or whatever his name is are probably going to do this next match as well, because it is Seattle. So
Stuart Holden and John Strong. Let's see. Hold on. Let me see what channel it's going to be on. Stuart Holden is the one who does. Yeah, it's on FS1, so we'll probably have Stuart Holden.
Okay. Well, let's hope they get the names right this time. But yeah,
I trust Stuart Holden and John Strong more than I trust Taylor Twellman with anything besides complaining on Twitter.
Yeah, and yelling and stealing people's tweets.
Are you kidding me?
And
he did steal Walter's tweet that once. That's right.
Well, I've seen that he's done that for a couple of people. So,
and then Walter would just no, Walter stole his tweet to make fun of him stealing someone else's tweet. That's right.
I'm kind of surprised he hadn't been blocked yet.
Oh yeah, because he tweeted him again the other day, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, Seattle, it's gonna be a tough one, man. And Seattle, I'd say, are probably the consensus favorites to win a MLS Cup this year at this point, considering all the results. Maybe even before. I think a lot of people probably, even though they weren't the 1 seed, I think a lot of people probably would have taken Seattle over Kansas City. And now, they're Kansas City still alive, obviously, but didn't have the best showing, and were almost beat by San Jose, who a lot of people don't rate. So, I mean, if FC Dallas can go in there and really just put in a solid performance and be competitive, don't let the game get away from you early on like they almost did last year against Seattle, just show that you belong and compete and just put in a good performance and really just try to get some respect. And who knows, man, these one-off playoff games can be somewhat of a crapshoot at times. I think there's still a lot of skill and ability in being able to win games where there's that much on the line. I think it's not a total crapshoot like some people are making it out. But I mean, if you can go in there, you never know. You never know what can happen. You might get a lucky bounce here or there, and maybe we're talking about FC Dallas in the Western Conference Finals in a week or so time. Who knows, man? Crazier things have happened. At this point, why not? Why not us? If they win against Seattle, then I'm fully on. Why can't they win MLS Cup? It's like they're already this far. There's no reason they can't win the whole damn thing. So,
yeah, I mean, you never know what's going to happen, and it's a one-off game. And like I said, we have the momentum. We can go out and gamble if we wanted to. I think we kind of probably will do the same approach.
Yeah, for sure.
If we lose to Seattle, I'll be pissed. More of the fact that it's Seattle, not the fact that we lost.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I'm hoping Tuesday can come a little bit sooner. But yeah, I'm really happy about all of this. I think I think we can do something special if we get past Seattle, because at that point, who knows what can happen.
Yeah.
Um,
If Kansas City goes on, they've already
we've already
shown that they've
we've
played
already
Kansas City 3 times this year, beat them twice, and tied once, including 2 of those games were on the road.
and,
So
and we've beaten Minnesota before as well. So
yeah, oh,
you
okay.
know,
I'd rather play Kansas City than Minnesota.
I would too, but I'm just trying to throw some
Yeah.
positivity out there. But yeah, that's our playoff journey so far. Did you want to talk about Bryan for a little bit, or?
Oh yeah, that was that came out of nowhere with the guys over at Third Degree dropping that Juventus were really keying in on Bryan Reynolds and supposedly supposed to make an offer of like 6 to 7 million, which obviously was surprising to all of us. Not from the sense that teams were interested in Bryan, but a team that big willing to spend that kind of money on a guy who's really only played half a season of top division soccer. I'm curious to see how Bayern Munich would maybe want to throw their hat in the ring, considering Bryan went and trained with them for a little while last year as part of the little partnership they had with them. I wonder if they maybe want to make a run at Bryan Reynolds too, and
Imagine
they already have.
Imagine the bidding war between Bayern Munich and Juventus over an FC Dallas right back. That's just
Who's played for half a season.
Yeah, and I think the most exciting part, or the craziest part, was that it was just a random drop, like nothing before, just bam, $6-7 million bid, like reportedly rumored for Bryan Reynolds. And when we saw him come in, we told each other that it was only a matter of time. The kid's 6'2", one of the fastest people on the pitch, and can cross the ball really, really well for somebody his age. It was just only a matter of time before a big club, and I guess now a top 5-6 club in the world, to see that the kid had talent.
Yeah, he's still very raw.
Yeah,
a lot of his talent. I've seen a lot of people would always debate the Bryan versus Reggie thing, and I get it, because Bryan literally took over for Reggie when he left, and they play the same position and everything. I think Bryan does have a lot of work defensively to do. I think he got exposed several times against Portland, where
he definitely did.
He got hit dirty a couple times 1v1, and but like you said, it's really just the potential for Bryan is so high, considering. Well, one, he's only been playing this position for a couple years, like he was a winger or a striker for most of his youth career. And then apparently it was Peter Lucene who had the idea to play him at right back. And it's been early on, like even watching him, I remember watching some North Texas games last year and thinking, wow, he's really good going forward. And obviously at that level, he's not getting tested defensively as much as he will at this level. And then, whenever you're getting to talking, Serie A and Champions League and all that, that's a whole nother test. And I will say that I wouldn't expect, even if, say, Bryan gets sold this winter, I would not expect to see him for the Juve first team maybe in the next year or two. There's a good chance he's going to be playing with Juve's U20s or U23s and stuff like that. Or maybe that they loan him out. This could be, they maybe want to key in more on that American market, but they already have Weston. So, I think they really do just rate. There's a good chance that, I saw someone tweet, I forgot who it was. They tweeted about how, Juve had to talk to FC Dallas because they gave the solidarity payments to FC Dallas when they bought Weston, or I guess the loan buy. So maybe there was some contact then.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Hey, if there's any other players, and y'all got any, or someone made the Tyrone Bigham's meme of the y'all got any more of them FC Dallas Academy players? Yeah. I think teams around the world are starting to recognize that the FC Dallas Academy produces some good talent, and Reggie Cannon wasn't the only one, and really what's crazy to me is that figure of 6 to 7 million, that's a lot think about that for an American fullback playing in MLS who's only played for half a year. That's a huge amount.
Oh yeah. I figured this had to have come from I guess FC Dallas forming a tie with Juventus, or at least communication, because they didn't have to give FC Dallas any money, but they decided to. So that was a really good gesture. And I guess at that point they were like, "Hey, I've heard you guys have a pretty good academy down here. Do you mind if we take a peek?" And saw that there's a 6'2", 4'2" right winger / right back that could potentially grow and develop more, and just turned 19. And
especially because Juve kind of like Pirlo right now likes using like wing backs really more than
he
just
likes using
traditional
yeah,
fullback. So
he likes
they
using
probably
wingbacks, and they wanted to get younger, which was one of their goals. And at this point, your right backs that you have are Cuadrado, who is in his earlier mid-30s, and Danilo, who isn't really the most world-class right back you can get in the world, and he also plays right back, left back, right wing, whatever it is. So
So
yeah,
I was just looking this up just to give a good like reference for the size of that transfer fee for people. So like when DeAndre Yedlin was sold from Seattle to Tottenham, remember how much DeAndre Yedlin was hyped up before, and he was kind of similar to where I think he only played 1 year in MLS, I want to say, after college, and he was sold for about 3 million, a little bit less than 3 million.
yeah,
And at the time, we thought that was huge. But think about that. Like, so I get the, transfer fees are different nowadays. Everything seems to be going up as far as transfer prices. So a guy that you get in 2014, is going to probably be worth more now just from the way the transfer market has trended. But still, that's over twice the amount for a player who a lot of people, I think in general, like most people around like U.S. soccer don't rate as highly as everyone did DeAndre Yedlin at the time, And I think a lot of it's because, unfortunately for Bryan Reynolds, he plays at the spot which probably has the most depth for the U.S. national team right now is right back. When you see, we're having to throw Serginho Dest at left back just because they want to get him on the field at the same time as Reggie, who also plays right back. So, Reynolds maybe for the national team is going to be in a little bit of a tough spot, but I mean, as far as a club career goes, every single team needs a right back. So there's not a shortage of teams in need of a fullback, and especially now, it seems like the way the sport is going, it's all about you want fullbacks who can attack, and Bryan Reynolds is definitely that. So really happy for him. If we obviously nothing's for sure yet. I doubt FC Dallas would hold him back. They've kind of shown in the past that they've always stood by what their player wants in terms of letting them go when they're ready and if they want the move. And I wouldn't expect them to do anything less, especially if they're offering that much money. I think you take that money and run.
yeah. That's a big enough fee to where I think, hey, you should take it. Plus, it's a high profile transfer. You
that
transferred
that helps you
to Juventus. Yeah, and imagine the next kids coming up there debating whether they want to. I don't know. I guess go to Austin FC's academy or Houston Dynamo's new logo academy or something.
Or the kids who are debating on if they want to sign a homegrown deal or go to Europe and try to work their way up. Maybe they're thinking, oh, shit, I can come here, play for a little while, get my profile up, and then get that big money move to those big teams that I'm probably not able to sign for right now.
Yeah, because right now you can say, hey, we had a kid that went to Bayern Munich and started a Champions League game, and now we had another kid that is at Boavista and probably will go to Lille, and now we have another kid that went to Juventus. So this would be a good spot for you. So I'm excited. That's cool, man. That's so cool.
And I guess the news came out last week too that Bryan and Tanner Tessman were going to get called up to the national team camp in December. There was going to be all like domestic players because I don't think it's during an actual FIFA window. Yeah. They're going to play against El Salvador at a Miami stadium. So there's just another big moment in the career of Bryan Reynolds. He's played for a lot of the U.S. youth teams, and I think a lot of the youth coaches ranked him. I don't know now since they got a bunch of new coaches whenever Berhalter took over, but Berhalter has shown that he values young MLS talent, and he's killing it in the dual national game. And, I'm a huge Tanner Tessman fan, and I think he is another guy who it's only a matter of time before he's playing in Europe, as long as he gets consistent minutes here to show the ability that I think it's very clear that he has. And he's another guy who is so good technically, and then you look at his, I I got in an argument with someone on Twitter about how size doesn't matter. Sure, it doesn't, but it doesn't hurt to be a huge body while also being really good technically. You know, like being 6'2" is a plus in the center, like the center of midfield. Like you can't tell me it's not. Like when you have a guy that big who is that good on the ball and stuff.
Oh, for
like
sure. Yeah.
You look at guys like Pogba and stuff like that, or Sissoko. There's guys who are just big bodies who can just boss in a midfield. Like, yeah, Testament has said that the guy he probably models his game after the most is Paul Pogba, and I guess I got to start calling him the American Pogba. Take that crown that I used to always give to Kellen Acosta as a joke and just pass it on to Tanner Tessman.
But yeah, that's huge, man. That's huge. I'm happy for these kids, man.
Yeah. Well, I guess all we have left to do now is just wait until Tuesday, and hopefully we're talking about I will admit that we were planning on doing a season recap episode at some point this week, but that got a little bit thrown off the rails by FC Dallas deciding to win, actually. So call us doubters all you want, but we were preparing for the worst, and who knows when we finally get to do that season recap episode, but got some things in the works that I think will be cool for a lot of people to hear, and maybe some names that you'll be excited to hear. And when that time comes, we'll go with it. But yeah, happy late Thanksgiving.
Peace, y'all.